name is Jenn. I'm a former senior patrol agent with the United States Border Patrol, and I talk about all the Border Patrol secrets and try and bring out the truth about Border Patrol corruption and agents committing crimes. And today my guest is Marianna Trevino Wright, and she is the executive director of the Butterfly Center that sits smack dab in McAllen, right on the border. You want to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself and why people should listen to you about the border?
Thank you, Jen. Yes, actually, we're in Mission, Texas, and right on the Rio Grande River. And I've been here for 12 years through two gubernatorial administrations and three presidential administrations now, and have watched the ever increasing militarization of our community, the I hate to say it, corruption, dare I say corruption of
That's what it is. You could say it.
the corruption of federal and state police forces, and the rollback of our civil rights and violations of the Constitution. And this is not some amorphous theoretical exercise for us, or what if. It is something that we deal with on a daily basis.
And I think too, something that we didn't talk about is that's important for people to know about you is that you were raised with a Latino father. You want to talk about that a little bit, that you speak Spanish fluently like a native. I mean, your middle name is Trevino, and I like to say you're white on the outside and brown on the inside. So like, even though you're white on the outside and your experiences may be a little bit different than people who are in your family, you were right next to them as these things were happening.
So yes, growing up here on the border, soy hija de la frontera. I'm a daughter of the borderlands, and I was adopted by my stepfather, and so Trevino is my maiden name, and I have a Mexican birth certificate. I hold a Mexican passport. I have dual citizenship. I attended school in Mexico. We grew up in a bilingual household. My grandfather from Monterrey lived with us until his passing. And, we were raised such that it was rude to speak a language someone did not understand in front of them. So Spanish was spoken at home. And yeah, that's how I grew up. This is my place. These are my people, and our lives and our families here on the borderlands straddle both countries and have always been, well, until 2001, until September 11th, 2001, as fluid as the river itself, with everyone going back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's only been this very opportunistic war on terror that has ended that, changed the narrative, and in horrible ways changed the way residents of the borderlands live and the things that we contend with daily.
I think it's also changed, obviously, a lot with the Border Patrol. I mean, it's not to say that the Border Patrol wasn't racist and brutal. Like when I was, excuse me, when I was an agent in the mid 90s, before 9/11, but it is to say that basically you took an old backwoods, racist, rooted in white supremacy organization that has very little legal training and believes that the Constitution doesn't exist down here for even American citizens, and then you give them billions of dollars and tell them you can do anything, just say it's in the interest of national security, and you have what we have today. And the other problem is criminalizing asylum seekers, which wasn't done when I was an agent back in the mid 90s. But today we're going to let's talk about the death of Anadith Reyes Alvarez. She's an 8-year-old child. Her family was coming to seek asylum, and this was in Texas, I believe. Was it Harlingen, right?
Harlingen, which is about 30 miles down the road from us, at one of the Border Patrol stations. And they're, as you are aware, because you used to be based in one, multiple stations throughout the region. The closest one to us is McAllen, then Weslaco, then Harlingen.
Okay, so that's in the Rio Grande Valley sector for people who don't know. And for short, we say RGV sector because Rio Grande Valley gets a little long. So originally, the AP reported that the family was held for 8 to 9 days in custody. That, by the way, violates the Flores Agreement that states that children should not be held in custody for longer than 72 hours. Now, the Border Patrol will just say, oh, well, extenuating circumstances, we're overwhelmed, this and that. But let's be honest, the Border Patrol since 2003 has been gearing up for what they know is coming, that the demographics of people crossing the border would change from day laborers to asylum seekers. And so they treat them like criminals, and they hold them within custody in horrible and deplorable conditions. And they've been given more money to do better, and they frankly never do better because they don't give a shit about migrants. And I can say that as a former Border Patrol agent. So the family had informed Border Patrol agents throughout the different processing stations that and their medical staff at every facility that they were at with Anadith, and said that she had a previous heart condition and sickle cell anemia. They stated that she could not breathe, had pain in her bones, and was having difficulty breathing. Now, medical professionals there diagnosed her with influenza, which apparently is quite common in people. They're more susceptible to it if they have heart issues and sickle cell anemia, is my understanding. And they claim that she did not go to the hospital. This is a quote from the mother. They killed my daughter because she was nearly a day and a half without being able to breathe. She cried and begged for her life, and they ignored her. They didn't do anything for her. What are your thoughts on this? And why are we seeing this happen in Border Patrol stations?
Well, we see this happen because there is a systematic dehumanization of migrants. It's part of Border Patrol culture and training. They refer to human beings as bodies, and they refer to them as something else. Actually, they have a variety of racial slurs and other insults.
The T word.
The T word, and plenty of others, so that they can treat them inhumanely, so that they can be cruel, even to children. And cruelty is the policy. We need to make that clear. And that's not just under Trump. We had multiple children die while in custody under the Trump administration, before, during, and after zero tolerance family separation. We had Carlos Hernandez Vasquez, a 16-year-old boy, Jacqueline Almajin, a 7-year-old girl, 8-year-old Felipe Gomez Alonso, and 16-year-old Juan de Leon Gutierrez. All of these children died in custody. And, one of them, in his own vomit and urine on the floor of a detention cell with feces, backed up and overflowing out of it. It is reprehensible. It is disgusting. And this is how the United States government, under every administration, we should say, treats migrants. It's part of their deterrence policy, which you can speak to better than I can.
Yeah, so during that time in the Trump administration, so just for a little bit of history, prior to the Trump administration, the last time a child died in custody, in Border Patrol custody, was 2010. So 7 years later, we end up getting children dying, multiple children dying. And it just so happens that every one of the children that died in the Trump administration in Border Patrol custody was a child from an indigenous tribe. And I think that is very important to recognize. And the thing about Carlos, the 16-year-old boy that was in the detention center laying in feces that you were talking about, Carlos Hernandez Vasquez, 16 years old, he laid there for over 4 hours. And the Border Patrol critical incident team was there. I have documents to prove that. And it just so happens that they got rid of some of the video as well. And of course, they covered that up as well. Nobody has ever been held accountable. But as far as why these things happen, a lot of people think, how can this happen? The Border Patrol's over half Latino. Well, the truth is Border Patrol agents are indoctrinated into white supremacist thinking in very strategic and opportunistic ways in the Border Patrol. We are taught that they are all criminals, that they are all liars, that they are murderers, and that their children should not be viewed as we view our children here in the United States, but that they are all criminals just waiting to come to our country and take advantage of everything. The Border Patrol agents who are Latino, a lot of times they'll quit because they do have issues like this. But the agents that are Latino, they just don't identify with them. They see the people coming across the border as people who are trying to take their stuff and their things in the United States. And so they differentiate themselves from them. That's one of the reasons why the Border Patrol teaches us a different type of racial slur, what I call the T word. And that stands for, the word actually is the sound our flashlights make when we hit them in the head. That is my training. That is what I was taught. That is what every agent was taught. And they all use it, all the way up to the chiefs. Everybody uses this word. And that's so that they don't see themselves in these arrests and in these people. You know, I find it interesting. One of the things that really bugs me about this is they say in the media statements, they say Customs and Border Protection, which we call CBP for short, is the parent agency to the Border Patrol. And they're saying that their internal affairs, which is known as Office of Professional Responsibility, so for short CBP OPR, that CBP OPR is doing the investigation and not to worry about it. But I think it's important to point out that over the years, I came forward about the critical incident teams of the Border Patrol. These are illegal and secret teams that each sector had. Congress didn't even know about it. And when I came forward about it and an NGO filed a complaint with Congress and with CBP, they were disbanded within 6 months. Like, when does that ever happen? That tells you how bad this shit is, right? So they disbanded them, but unfortunately, what they did was they ended up having those agents in these critical incident teams, for short, called CITs, CITs. They had these illegal teams turn around, quit the Border Patrol, and rehired them under CBP, and now they are acting as evidence technicians. Now, the reason why these teams matter is they get rid of video evidence. I've proven how they got rid of video evidence in the Anastasio Hernandez Rojas case from 2010 and the Jose Antonio Elena Rodriguez case in 2012. You can see it in the Touch Keen case. You can see it in all these cases that Border Patrol has touched. And so they've just legalized them. So the same agents that were covering up for these crimes, and no agent has been convicted of killing anybody since these teams began in the late 1980s, they're still doing it. So no, we don't have any trust that CBP OPR is doing an investigation, that they're not going to manipulate the evidence, that they're not going to get rid of witnesses, that they're not going to get rid of videos, and then that they will not clear these agents from their either negligence, they're not caring, they're not following their policy, they're not taking care of migrants who are in their custody. I'm sorry, but if you're going to take people in your custody, then you're responsible for their care. That's just the way it is. Do you have any thoughts to add to this?
We can do a whole future episode on our documentation of agents doing things that are a direct violation of policy.
Policy.
Yeah, me and my staff, having photo and video evidence of these things, sending it to their station chief, to the patrol agent in charge and saying, your agents are doing this, and him saying, no, they're not. We have policies against that. And then me sending him the photo and video evidence, or her, since I've dealt with so many patrol agents in charge over the years. And each new one comes in and, there's a new sheriff in town and people are going to do things right and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I've been here 12 years. I probably dealt with 12 of you.